He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome to Coast View, the show that celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi a great place to live, work, and play. Good morning, coastal Mississippi. Come on in, Kyle. Let's talk for just a second. As you and I were talking just before the show started, the models still show there's at least some possibility that one, maybe two, tropical systems could be in the Gulf in the next, 5 to 7 days, and we're still several days away from really understanding whether there's going to be any threat to coastal Mississippi. So people should not be concerned. But as you and I continue to tell people, it's just time to just know what your plan's going to be. That's the basic message, isn't it?
It is. And not to make too much of a joke out of everything, but can you imagine the run on toilet paper if there's 2 hurricanes?
Oh, goodness gracious. It's an interesting time we're in. And of course, then there's another system that's coming off of the Alpha of Africa as we speak, which will be designated another invest, I'm sure, pretty soon. So we're in an active part of the season, as I have been saying, as you have been saying for several weeks now. We may be dodging them, so just strap on your seatbelts and have your plan. Basic message, right, buddy?
It is, and it's not really a time to go out and panic shop. It might be a time, if you're going to the grocery store this weekend, to pick up an extra item or two.
Yeah.
Get a gallon of water to put in the pantry and just leave it there. Just little things here and there so you don't have to go bulk shopping at the last minute.
Yeah, I mean, with the requirements for during the pandemic for face mask and social distancing and all that, Ann's doing the same thing. My wife Ann is, when she goes to Sam's, she's going to pick up a few extra items, and we're just going to, stuff that's non-perishable. We'll have it ready in case we need it, and it'll be there for the rest of the season. So, anyway, hey, we're about to move over to Hunter Dawkins, who's the president and owner of the Gazebo Gazette in coastal Mississippi over in Pasquasham. But before we move on for him, we've got actually a really important job fair coming up for next week. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that job fair is coming up September 2nd, and it's going to be huge, $1 million worth of jobs coming up. And we're talking about it on all 6 of our radio stations across the Tele-South Gulf Port location. The heaviest publicized job fair coming. If there's employers out there looking for jobs, looking for employees, just email jobfair@telesouth.com and you'll get all the information. It's coming up September 2nd, and it's going to be a huge job fair.
It's at the mall, right?
Yes, it is, at the mall, Edgewater Mall.
I'm actually, I think we're going to do Coast View live from there that day, so that ought to be interesting.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I'm waiting to figure out how to set that up.
Okay. Anyway, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. So let's move on over to Hunter. Hunter, I have a lot of admiration for you because, as you and I were talking about offline, there's so much noise on the national stage from a media perspective. There's no way to even begin to sort through that. The real meat on the bones is local news, what's happening in your local community. You are so dedicated to that cause, aren't you?
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Ricky. I appreciate having me on. And, now, as you can see in my background, I'm in my new office. I got the new printer. I got a little bit of this and a little bit of that I've been trying to put together for years, actually. And I certainly appreciate, reaching out to you guys. And I certainly agree with you. All news nowadays is local news, and that's the most important for everybody. So
yeah, it was. It's a tough environment because it's a tough environment anyway.
Yes,
but it's especially tough because of the pandemic. We're gonna talk about that for sure. Hey, you heard us talking about the tropical season and all the estimates that we're going to have a hyperactive season. Certainly, that's already been the case. What are you hearing from the people that you associate with?
Well, of course, as you know, down here in Pasquasham and Long Beach and the west side of Harrison County, we've had the most devastating the last 50 years, at least, from Hurricane Camille, Hurricane Katrina, a number of other large hurricanes that come in here and just wreak havoc. And, there's a little bit of, concern, obviously, but, I think for the most part, most of the community is feeling like, well, it's either, we're going to get right on board with it, or it's pretty scary. So,
yeah. Hey, so, I look back at my career. If there's a defining moment in my career, if there's a defining moment for me, just in terms of understanding the role that a newspaper plays in a community, it was for sure Hurricane Katrina. And it was.
Congratulations! Still, I know it happened a long time ago, but thank y'all for your coverage and all that back then. It was something that was award winning and definitely deserved every bit of the press that it got. So,
well, I appreciate it, and we'll talk about the Gazebo Gazette and the interesting press that it got. Books have been written about it, but yeah, I mean, it was a defining moment. Because the internet, it was here obviously, but when people don't have computers because they were all destroyed, the printed newspaper was just critical. And what we learned was that when people are empowered with information, unbiased information, where editorial points of view are separated from the actual news, and there's rigor involved in making sure that the information that's being shared is as accurate and unbiased as it possibly can, that when you do that, that it helps keep democracy viable. It helps give people the information so they can be involved in the democratic process. That's what you're all about, isn't it?
Yes, sir. I had written a few editorial, at least for the newspaper, but also too, I've stressed importantly in certain articles that there were studies that have been done, accurate figures that said communities that get involved with community newspapers, there's an overwhelming majority of the accurate and the quality decisions that those communities make, and that's not just from basic, crappy stats. That's from your medicine stats, your scientific stats, and things as such. So.
It's so interesting to me that to think back about the Gazebo Gazette, because I remember here we are in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. Pastor Chan's been literally wiped off the face of the earth.
Sure.
And then here is this little town square that starts to spring up, and all these volunteers, and you could go there and get food, and it was just like an ad hoc concentration of people. I talk about 1,000 points of light all the time, but that's what it was. It was organizations that were coming to help, and it was amazing to observe. And then Evelina Schmuckler comes, and she has the idea to start this. She was a journalist in her background, had this idea to start. I think it wasn't just an 8.5 by 11 printed.
It was just a little tab, and more about information about the community, where to go pick up food, supplies, and all the rest. And, occasionally there was a little ad in here that said this and that and the other. And Evelina did a fantastic job, and I have nothing but respect and admiration for her and all that she went through for 7 to 8 long years. And even though the Pastor Shan Library has a big structure where it's got her name and a copy of the Gazebo Gazette, the original kind, put on there. So
yeah, well, so, gosh, what's so inspiring about it was she was driven by this this burning desire in her to find a way to be able to communicate within the realm of this city's town center. It eventually sort of kind of spreading out into the community as people came back to the coast. But I just thought that it was really amazing. And here we are, about to celebrate the 15th, or celebrate, I don't know, observe. It's really the best word to say, the 15-year anniversary of Katrina. And I'm having a conversation with you, and you took this amazing, passionate work that she did, and you are sharing the same sort of passion for community news that she had, and you bought the Gazette, and here you are. And now we're in the midst of a pandemic and in the midst of an active hurricane season, and you're still driven by the same sort of belief that she had, that local news was critical to creating a great community. That's basically at the nut of it, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, sir, Mr. Matthews. I definitely appreciate that, and knowing that, I'm driven every day to try to hear out. I've got local scanners and things as such. Trying to follow everything, to follow what's happening with fire, with what's happening with cops, local news, but also then we have to stress the pandemic with the schools, things as such, and it's trying to get it all in one little. Well, now I've expanded the paper at least to a broadband section, like normal, but also too, I'm trying to get more coverage for local shops, for local businesses in there, just so they can, really put their word on the map. And of course, I'm the old school, always surfing for advertising. But anyway, I know you're raising your hand, so
no, we're just getting close to the end of this segment. What we'll do is we'll just kind of pick it up there when we get on the other side. This is Hunter Dawkins, who's the president and owner of the Gazebo Gazette in Pasquarsham, Long Beach area, and we'll continue the conversation about the incredible dedication he has to the community when we come back from the break.
Thank you.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.
What decisions are being made by state lawmakers, and how will they affect you, your family, and community? If you listen, you'll know. SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk app, and at supertalk.fl.
Hi, I'm Billy Kinder, host of Big Billy Kinder Outdoors. Here the show Saturdays at 1, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Turkeys, whitetail, Grenada Lake crappie, or Gulfport redfish. We enjoy it all, especially when you're in camp with us on SuperTalk Mississippi.
You could be spreading the coronavirus without realizing you have it, so do your part and stay home. It's important to limit in-person interaction with anyone outside of your immediate household, but phone and video chat are safe ways to connect. It's also important to limit social gatherings. If you need essential items like food and medicine, try using a delivery service. If you must leave your house for essential items, or if you want to take a walk for exercise, make sure to wear a cloth face covering. Stay at least 6 feet away from other people. Try not to frequently touch surfaces like light signals, street signs, or benches. And wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds as often as possible. This advice applies to people of any age, including teens and younger adults. It takes all of us to slow the spread of the coronavirus, so stay home unless absolutely necessary. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else.
Hey, want to come work for the #1 radio group on the coast? TeleSouth Media has a great opportunity for an outside sales consultant. Get paid while having fun and work in the exciting, fast-paced world of radio. We have award-winning stations like 97.9 CPR Rocks, 105.9 The Monkey, G96.7, SuperTalk 103.1, and 103.5 The Possum. Take the first step towards a new and rewarding career. Submit your resume to Jesse at telesouth.com.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on Super Talk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We have Hunter Dawkins, who's the president and owner of the Gazebo Gazette in Pasquarsham, Long Beach area. We're just talking about how important local news is to a community, and and we're going to continue that conversation. But Hunter, I just wanted to say, your mother, Deborah Dawkins, is someone I had a lot of respect for. She served as senator in the Mississippi legislature for, was it 20 years or nearly 20 years?
It was 20 years from 2000 or from 1999 to 2019. So yes, sir.
What I remember about her was when she locked onto something, she felt strongly about it, and she really voted her conviction. And if you wanted someone who's going to be doggedly connected to an issue, your mother was the one to have on it for sure. She was an inspiration for you, I bet.
Well, and more importantly, not only for me but for the coast. I mean, she wanted everything that was good for the coast residents and their way of life to be able to do things and be able to go out and enjoy it. And certainly she was an inspiration, not only as a mother, but she was, I know this, of course, would be a little biased opinion, but, she was, in my mind, one of the ideological legislators and statesmen, because she did things without real concern for money and without concern for getting reelected. She did things because it was the right thing to do. So.
And see, I love that aspect, because I think one of the things that's missing today in politics is a level of independence that too often defined by the polarizing ends. And really, as you know, most of America, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, most of America is right there in the middle. We're moderates. We don't like the fact that we're on either end, like we're being forced to be. It's a sad position.
From her perspective, she was friends with everybody in the legislature, but she spoke up about what she felt passionate about, and things that weren't exactly a partisanship issue, things that were affecting the people. That's what you idealize when you study the American government and things as such as I have. You idealize the John Adams, the Thomas Jefferson, the founding fathers, what they got behind, and they were passionate about certain principles that help the constituents and the people. So
yeah, there's no doubt about that. And man, I covet the day when we can get back there again, where the issue, and we can have a debate about the issue and not have all this noise. As Alberto Ibargüen, the president of the Knight Foundation and former president and publisher of the Miami Herald and Nuevo Herald, said, that just so much noise, almost impossible to sort through it. My goodness. So you actually did a stint with Gene Taylor. You had done some journalism in your past. So talk to me about what you did before you owned the Gazebo Gazette.
Well, I had briefly, I grew up down here, and I went to school at Catholic University in Washington, D.C. I was very lucky, got a scholarship there, and I definitely wasn't exactly the most academically intelligent person, but I was lucky enough to get the opportunity to go to school there, and that really got me on board with the Washington political movement and things as such. And of course, me being a young kid, I was always in the politics and side of things. And then, as I grew older, as you're aware of, the divide and the partisanship just really got into me. And I really, I came back here for a brief time during Katrina. And, then I saw the problems that were going on. And I went back to graduate school in Washington, D.C. at George Washington University while I was working for Congressman Taylor. And I was very lucky to work on his staff and really be one of the people that tried to change the way the insurance market and things were doing down here. And wasn't lucky, but then I moved down back home, became a teacher, did that for a little while. Then I got involved in journalism, and I started off sports reporting, and then I got lucky enough to find an opening here and with the paper, and I've gotten involved in the community aspect of everything, and it's one of the dream jobs of mine, because I've always wanted to be in public service attitude, and I think more than anything, and I think you understand that too, being somebody that's leading the paper is somebody that's in the service to the public. So
I used to say Roland Weeks was my mentor, so I couldn't have picked a better mentor. I mean, he saw in me things I didn't see in myself long before they emerged. He was just a really good mentor. But he taught me that a publisher, if they're going to be really good, they have to wear three hats. One is you have to, there's a First Amendment obligation. So, the journalism is an important part of what you do. Second, you're CEO of a company. You've got to run the company because the fiduciary responsibilities related to that are really important to sustaining journalism.
Absolutely.
And third, you're a community leader. To the extent that you volunteer, and I spent a tremendous amount of my time volunteering, whether it was the Governor's Commission after Katrina. I led the oil recovery efforts for Governor Riley in Alabama when I went there. But I always believed that volunteerism was important. But more important, actually, was when you're on the ground level involved in volunteer work, when you're involved in the community, it makes you a better publisher because you're able to make sure that the editorial voice of the newspaper really does reflect the needs of the community. Those things ring true to you, don't they?
Yes, sir. And just like you said, being at a lot of these local athletic events and all, trying to, pitch in, trying to help here with concession stands, which unfortunately I don't know if we're going to have this year right now. But that being said, really kind of sponsoring of the programs, being a sponsoring of a numerous Mississippi Gulf Coast Chamber of Commerce events, things that are involved with the community. And I think that really has helped me from a business aspect and help sponsor, my move towards community news. So.
Well, I know it's important, and I had the real pleasure and honor of serving on the Mississippi Press Association board for a number of years, and you have been repeatedly recognized by them. You are an award-winning community newspaper. That's actually really important when you consider how many community newspapers there are in Mississippi. What is the latest number? I don't even know.
I don't know the exact accurate number, but I have heard from Mr. Bruce and the rest from the Mississippi Press Association. It's somewhere in between 50 and 75. Division F, and then Division E is normally around, I think it's around 13 or 14, and in Division D, which is a bi-weekly newspaper, it's about 10. So
yeah,
about 100 newspapers in that area of weekly newspapers.
So it's really a very special thing, and also sort of a reminder of what you do and how you stack up. For you to be recognized by your peers year after year, it's got to make you feel good that other people are noticing and that your work stacks up there with the best of them.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I try not to get too big on myself, but I, of course, keep in my office here. I keep the award right next to me. But
it's a good reminder, man. I mean, I was in my office, but if I were in we had to move because we had to be able to plug directly into the Wi-Fi. Sure. That's why I'm in the room we're in now. But if I were in my office, I'd be able to grab my Pulitzer reminder and share that with you, because it's, there are these moments in your career that you never forget.
Exactly. And that was something for me that I really felt great because of, I was recognized by outside of my own people who I'm 100% behind all the time. But I think that, having other people outside of the box recognize you is something truly thankful for. So,
yeah. So how are things going in the pandemic world for you? Tell me about that.
Well, it's pretty good for me right now. And I say good, not meaning good from the actual cases and things as such. But, the contact that I have with, for instance, yesterday, I talked with both superintendents of Long Beach School District and Pass Christian School District, where they had sit-down conversations with me, going over different details, the numbers and things as such. And I think that the fact of them recognizing me and the ability, okay, well, if we give this information to Hunter, he's going to put that out. He's going to make sure everybody has an idea of what that. And to me, that's important. And not only them, but the law enforcement, local law enforcement, Long Beach, Harrison County Sheriff's Office, Pastor Christian. I'm very close with all of them. And the fact of me having conversations with them and the mayors, it's definitely puts the true community newspaper in its place. So.
Well, Hunter, we're running out of time, but let me just say this. Thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you, sir.
Local news is an empowering part of a community. It is, as I said, it's the thing that keeps democracy viable. Without it, we're less. We're not all we can be as a community. So I really celebrate what you're doing, and I hope through this video we can remind shop owners and stores and businesses to support you, and for people who are not subscribing to subscribe to you, because I think this is the history of this newspaper is so weaved now into the fabric of that community because of Katrina, and your leadership of it is so critical. I wish you all the luck in the world as you go forward.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. Just to let you know, 52 weeks, $40 the whole year. That's it.
Oh, good for you, man. I hope people write that check. Write that check. I think it's not only going to help Hunter continue in his business, but it's going to make a contribution back to the community. So thank you, Hunter. Have a great day, buddy.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Appreciate it.
When we come back, we have David Shoemaker, and we're going to talk about an amazing sort of volunteer effort that he has unleashed.
Listen live or on demand and watch episodes of Coast View on your laptop, desktop, or on your phone or tablet by going to supertalkmsgulfcoast.com.
SuperTalk. Nobody keeps Mississippi informed like we do. With 12 stations covering all 82 counties. If it happens in your state, we're on top of it. The news, the weather, the sports, and the talk that's important to you. The issues that matter to you, your family, and your bank account. It's all right here. And when you're away from home, depend on the SuperTalk app and supertalk.fm to stay in the know. We're proud to serve our fellow Mississippians. SuperTalk Mississippi.
We know that we're asking Americans to do a lot right now. So we're asking everyone to be selfless for others so that we can protect those who are most susceptible to this virus.
A question I often get asked is, why should young people care about the spread of coronavirus? Well, we know that people with underlying medical conditions over the age of 60 are at highest risk, but they've got to get it from somebody.
Social distancing is really physical separation of people.
It's what we refer to when we ask people to stay at least 6 feet apart.
Not going to bars, not going to restaurants, not going to theaters where there are a lot of people. It all just means physical separation so that you have a space between you and others who might actually be infected or infect you.
We all have a role to play in preventing person-to-person spread of this disease, which can be deadly for vulnerable groups. For more information on how you can social distance, please go to coronavirus.gov.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We are with the fabulous Norbert Putnam, as he played on so many hit records, you can't count them, and produced for some of the biggest acts ever. Norbert, Elvis.
And I want to tell you about Presley. He had two different voices. He would sit and talk to me in a very calm, low voice. And we were at Stack's one night, and we were having lunch. We always had lunch at midnight because he was nocturnal. We sat there and we have our sandwiches, and at 1 o'clock, he looked up. He said, "Hey, Put, come on, it's time for me to go beat Elvis." And he stood up, in a much deeper voice, he put on his macho voice. "Hey, fellas, it's 1 o'clock. Let's get cracking, okay?"
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, Amazon Alexa, and now on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have lead us in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be. There is no typical firefighter.
Everyone knows the only thing better than pizza is free pizza, and right now, buy a $10 gift certificate to CiCi's Pizza for only $5. It's like buying a pizza and getting a pizza for free. Go to our station's website or Facebook. Look for the Half Off Deals logo to purchase this amazing deal right now.
We give HPV vaccine to children at 11 or 12 years of age. I have 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls, and I've given the vaccine to all of them.
Get out of the house and over to Big Play today. 2 massive arcades, bowling, go-karts, 2 mini golf courses, a 2-story state-of-the-art laser tag arena, bumper cars, and right now get a $50 game card for only $25. Visit our station's Facebook and print on demand so you can play at Big Play Entertainment Center now. These deals won't last long, so make sure you get your half-off deal. Big Play Entertainment Center, Highway 90 Biloxi. Bowl, play, eat. Go to our station's Facebook to get your half-off deal now.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen. Okay. Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices. He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. That was a terrific conversation with Hunter Dawkins, the owner and publisher of the Gazebo Gazette in Pasquo-Shannon, Long Beach. Man, we need so many people like him, just dedicated to making sure the community is informed. And I cannot celebrate his efforts enough. And he's an award-winning guy. If you missed that conversation, you can go to the SuperTalk Gulf Coast Facebook page and take a look. You'll be glad you did. Just a terrific conversation. Hey, a lot of times I bring up that the nonprofit community and volunteerism in coastal Mississippi is one of the keys to our success. Certainly after Katrina, we learned that we had all these volunteer organizations coming in from all over the United States, some of them religious-based, some of them representing organizations like, Salvation Army and Red Cross and all these other nonprofits. The way they poured in here, they might have, in some cases, provided met needs at the same time for a certain group. But essentially what was happening was they were just filling gaps. They were finding people who had needs and making sure those needs are met. One of the things that makes this community work is that we have 1,000 points of light. We're lucky that as part of our DNA in coastal Mississippi, we're resilient people. We understand what resiliency means. And it means that we're willing to help our neighbor. That's kind of what this is all about. This morning, I wanted to read a little bit more about the 1,000 points of light because I use that phrase a lot. And I found that George W. Bush, when his father passed away, he gave the eulogy. You may remember it. And here's one of the things he said during that eulogy. He said, this is George Bush, W. Bush, speaking of his father, George H.W. Bush. He strongly believed that it was important to give back to the community and country in which one lived. He recognized that serving others enriched the giver's soul. To us, he was the brightest point. He was the brightest of the 1,000 points of light. I love that statement. But it is true that when we give to the community, we get as much back as what we're giving, which brings me to today's guest. David Shoemake, I learned about David's an old friend. We've been to Costa Rica fishing before together, known him for many, many years. He has a painting company in coastal Mississippi. But I learned about an effort that he had unleashed which to me was an extremely good example of just one of the 1,000 points of light. Someone sees a need, they go raise some money, and they go meet the need. And I was just so touched by it. I asked David to join me and come in and talk to me a little bit about what he's up to. David, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing real well. Good to see you, Ricky.
It's good to see you. I'm just curious, how's your business doing?
Man, I am just so fortunate. I'm telling you, we were deemed essential, and we never skipped a beat. We've worked real hard to maintain cleanliness, to keep all people working. The more folks that work, the more private money circulates around our community. And I just think that's imperative that we keep private money running, that government money doesn't float our boat. So I've just been real fortunate to get a lion's share of the work on the coast, and we're just pushing through.
Well, that's awesome. And you've had good experience so far, right, as it relates to employees and the COVID situation?
Well, oddly enough, on February 28th, I had 49 employees. On March 28th, I had 29. So we had 29 people that went away, not sick, just most of them were just afraid to circulate in the community, and they chose to not work. And we've just pushed through with those 30 people. It's just been tough, but fortunately, everybody understands that everybody's fighting through this pandemic the best way they can.
Well, that's good to hear. And as I said, I wish everyone had a story like that to tell. The good news is we've done a pretty good job of coming back in coastal Mississippi. Restaurants obviously have had limitations on what they could do. If you did events and were involved in anything that involved people being shoulder to shoulder, your business has been impacted. But as you pointed out, construction continued to move forward. It was identified as an important, vital industry, and it just never stopped. So tell me about what light is as it relates to the 1,000 points of light that I just talked about. What did you do?
Well, Ricky, my whole life, my parents instilled that if you could understand the joy of giving, that the joy of receiving will be so diminished that the real joy is the gift. And I've lived my life just trying to give as much as I can, and finding some little old way that my minor life can make impact in the people that are around me, in the community that I serve. And I'm fortunate enough that I've put that in my children, and I hope that they can put that in their children. So that's just part of my fabric.
So what did you do? You saw a need and you decided to raise some money and meet the need. Tell me all about it.
Well, it really started out kind of weird. I never go to Walmart. Don't have anything against Walmart, but I just never go. My wife had a need for something, and I looked a couple places and I couldn't find it, so I thought I'd go to Walmart. So I went through Walmart and I cut through the school supply section, and I saw a lady and her child, and the little child was wanting something, and the mother was explaining to her that she just didn't have the money. And it made me stop and pause a second. Not that I was trying to eavesdrop, but it made me curious. So she says, "Look, your daddy's laid off, my hours are short, and I just can't afford that right now. Let's buy the essentials, get you to school." And the little girl was all upset. Well, I just felt compelled to help a little bit. So I eased over, spoke to her for a moment and helped her a little bit and went about my business. A couple of days later, Al Jones called me with another person that he knew in the system that was a teacher and just was a little bit short and couldn't decorate a room, couldn't provide the essentials that she needed to. And he asked me, could I help? So I said, of course I'll help. And so I committed to a value, and I asked him how he was going to go about it. And he said that he had cut a deal with John Ray, Gulf Coast Business Supply, that he would, whatever money he could buy, that he would sell him that amount of stuff at cost to help the cause. Well, I asked Al if he would mind if I called John. Not that I'm trying to circumvent Al, but I just wanted to see what was going on. So I called John, and he told me that he felt compelled to help Al. And I asked him, and this is my exact words, I said, "John, this is everywhere. Do you want to go large?" He said, "David, I'll go as large as you want to go." And I said, "Well, I'll put out a few emails. I'll make a few texts. I'll make a few calls and see if we can raise some money, see if we can help a bunch of schools. And I says, every school in this district and all our districts are all hurting financially because of this pandemic. I said, let's just see what we can do. And, we were talking pens and paper and pencils and all that kind of stuff, and it just got too crazy. So we went with PPE. So we felt like if we could raise up enough money to protect the kids, that they could keep them in school, then we would do our part. So we decided that his kids went to Harrison County schools. I went to Harrison County schools. My kids went to Gulfport schools. So if we could raise enough money to provide PPE for just those 2 districts, we would be so happy. And we figured out that's a lot of schools. That's 45 schools. We thought that we'd like to do $500 purchase value for about $800 worth of actual value stuff. So we agreed we would do that. And if we had extra, we would go west. No reason why we would go west rather than east, but we just chose west. So I put out a text, Ricky, and I told the story just like I just told you. And oddly enough, in 30 seconds, I had $8,000. 30 seconds. The texts were ringing in. It was just, I was spellbound. And so I called John and I said, this is going to take off. This is going to take off, and in 4 days, we raised $24,000. We were able to help Harrison County, Gulfport, Long Beach, Pass, Bay Waveland, and Hancock school districts. Every school got $500 worth of PPE. And now we're trying to go east. And we got Biloxi handled. And now we're trying to go. We want to go all the way to the coast. We want to do as many schools as we can. And it's just been so cool.
Well, now you're up to, I think, over 30,000 now.
We're at $35,000 right now, and we're it's the momentum slowing, and the reason why momentum slowing is I just don't know people on the east. Yeah. I know people in the center here, and actually Harrison County and Gulfport those folks have generated 90% of that money, and their funds. No one, when we gave their money, that once, so they were a Gulfport person, that their money may buy Ash Christian kids' safety. They really don't care. They don't care where that money goes as long as it's helping kids.
So let's do this. This is David Shoemake we're having a conversation with, and this really grassroots effort to provide PPE to schools. Raised $35,000 so far. They want to go east. We'll talk about how you can contact David, and I want to learn a little bit more about his business. And when we come back from the break, we'll continue our conversation.
You can also listen live to SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Get out of the house and over to Big Play today. 2 massive arcades, bowling, go-karts, 2 mini golf courses, a 2-story state-of-the-art laser tag arena, bumper cars, and right now get a $50 game card for only $25. Visit our station's Facebook and print on demand so you can play at Big Play Entertainment Center now. These deals won't last long, so make sure you get your half-off deal. Big Play Entertainment Center, Highway 90, Biloxi. Bowl, play, eat. Go to our station's Facebook to get your half-off deal now.
What decisions are being made by state lawmakers, and how will they affect you, your family, and community? If you listen, you'll know. SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk app, and at supertalk.fl.
Hi, I'm Billy Kinder, host of Big Billy Kinder Outdoors. Hear the show Saturdays at 1, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Turkeys, whitetail, Grenada Lake crappie, or Gulfport redfish. We enjoy it all, especially when you're in camp with us on SuperTalk Mississippi.
You could be spreading the coronavirus without realizing you have it, so do your part and stay home. It's important to limit in-person interaction with anyone outside of your immediate household, but phone and video chat are safe ways to connect. It's also important to limit social gatherings. If you need essential items like food and medicine, try using a delivery service. If you must leave your house for essential items, or if you want to take a walk for exercise, make sure to wear a cloth face covering. Stay at least 6 feet away from other people. Try not to frequently touch surfaces like light signals, street signs, or benches. And wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds as often as possible. This advice applies to people of any age, including teens and younger adults. It takes all of us to slow the spread of the coronavirus, so stay home unless absolutely necessary. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk, Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else.
Hey, want to come work for the #1 radio group on the coast? TeleSouth Media has a great opportunity for an outside sales consultant. Get paid while having fun and work in the exciting, fast-paced world of radio. We have award-winning stations like 97.9 CPR Rocks, 105.9 The Monkey, G96.7, SuperTalk 103.1, and 103.5 The Possum. Take the first step towards a new and rewarding career. Submit your resume to Jesse at telesouth.com. That's JESSE at telesouth.com. TeleSouth Media is an equal employment opportunity employer.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen. Okay. Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices. What decisions are being made by state lawmakers, and how will they affect you, your family, and community? If you listen, you'll know. SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk app, and at supertalk.fm.
Hi, I'm Billy Kinder, host of Big Billy Kinder Outdoors. Here the show Saturdays at 1, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Turkeys, whitetail, Grenada Lake crappie, or Gulfport redfish. We enjoy it all, especially when you're in camp with us on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. Like I said, it takes 1,000 points of light to make a community go. And we learned that so well after Hurricane Katrina. And now that we're in this pandemic moment, this resiliency thing that I always talk about that is part of our coastal Mississippi DNA sort of raises to the surface, and people come forward and do things that are about giving back to the community. So we have David Shoemake with us today. And he's talking about how he was inspired by a conversation he overheard at Walmart, that he ultimately sort of evolved into this thing. You never know where a thing like this is going to go, David. You just don't know. You sent out a text, you get a few $1,000s. Within 4 days, you're in the 20s, and now you're $35,000, and you provided $800 worth of PPE to all of these schools, and now you're saying, look, I'm going to take it as far as the community wants me to take it. So if money continues to come in to help your efforts, you can move even further east to help those schools toward Jackson County. So how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, it's easy. I've got a website, Shoemake Painting at AOL.com, ShoemakePainting.com. My phone, I will wake up in the middle of the night to answer the phone to get money to help kids. You know, look, if we can keep them in school, this will not be a wasted year. You know, we was afraid that this year was going to be real tough on the educators and on the students to advance. So we've got to keep them in school. We've got to keep them clean to keep them in school. So,
yeah. I have 2 grandkids that are at St. James Elementary, and my daughter is a teacher there. She's a 6th grade teacher there, and so far so good. The kids, wear the PPE the whole class.
That's right.
And the teachers wear them the whole class, and they've just found a way to make it work. I had Wayne Rodolphich from the Pascagoula Gaucher School System on yesterday, and he talked about how they've had tremendous experience so far with kind of moving this thing forward. They want to do in person. They're using distance learning technologies when they have to. Obviously, there are quarantine scenarios and others that the administrators and teachers have to deal with. But the reality is they've just moved this forward. But PPEs are a critical part of making this plan work.
No doubt.
So thank you so much for your efforts. Hey, David, tell me about your business. You've been doing this for a long time.
I have been, and I'm just so fortunate. The Gulf Coast has been moving real hard, and I'm lucky to get the lion's share. We're wrapping up the aquarium right now, which is really a nice feather on my portfolio. I'm just so proud to have been able to do that project, and we're doing that whole square. We're doing the CTA garage, and we're doing the CTA, the old library renovation, and we're just real fortunate. I tell you, we're just real fortunate.
I'm excited about the aquarium. Incidentally, we're actually going to be doing a live remote from there on August the 28th.
Nice.
For the grand opening, I think, is out for the public is on the 29th, and then on the 28th they start to work, some leaders through that process. But we'll be there and celebrating. But before then, I'm actually going to go over myself and take a tour. But everyone I've talked to says it's bigger and grander and more special than they could have ever seen just looking at a picture. Is that your impression too?
Well, when you drive by, you don't really see everything that you need to see. And when you get up in there and you see that this thing has got over 1 million gallons worth of water, and there's fish of every variety, and animals and alligators and otters and dolphins, it's going to be special. This is something that we have here that there's been a lot of folks working for years to get it, and be it a grandeur scheme or whatever it is, it's here. So now what we've got to do is just kick back and enjoy it, bring our kids, and I hope every student on the coast gets a chance to come see it. It's special.
So is the lion's share of your business commercial?
Well, I started out residential, but the lion's share is commercial. I really like doing residential because I like to network with the homeowners, and I really like to see how folks' minds grow their house to their certain needs. It's really pretty cool. But residential is a tough market to be in. But there's just not many folks on the coast that do this large work that I'm kind of specializing in. So I'm real fortunate to get it. We've been in just about every casino on the coast, and we've done motels and hotels and restaurants and hospitals and churches. And it was odd, after Katrina, I did 15 churches. It was kind of like I was the church guy, and I felt so good because I needed to be close. I needed church. So it was kind of a blessing for me to get all those churches. And we've done Memorial Hospital. We did Hancock Bank. We've just done all the big jobs on the coast, or not all of them, but a lion's share of them has got our stamp on it. And our logo is "When you care enough to look your best." So fortunately they've hired us, and we've made a lot of things look wonderful. And I'm real proud of my people. I don't paint a thing, and I've got some real talented people that have just made things look beautiful. So.
Well, running out of time, David Shoemake, but it's been a pleasure to catch up with you, old friend. Look forward to getting a boat with you soon and maybe catching some specks and redfish together. But thank you so much for your effort. It's amazing what sending out one text can unleash in a community to help the community. And thank you for being willing to do that. I know you already said it. You got more from it than you're giving. That's the beauty of giving. That's what giving is all about.
That's right.
Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it, buddy.
You're welcome, Ricky. Nice talking to you.
You too, man. Have a great day.
Likewise.
And we'll see you tomorrow.
See you soon.